Hey everybody, well it is July 12th, 2018. It's a Thursday and it is the evening, and I am going to get into the last uh, two issues over two separate videos. I find it works better over two videos. So this is the first video. I'm going to try to knock them both out tonight and then post them over the next 2 days. And we are dealing with John Byrne and Dick Giordano's Man of Steel. So the next one up is issue number 5, coming right up after these transitions. And we're back. So this is the cover for Man of Steel number 5, and I think it's another, whoops, I have to be careful here. I think it's another great cover. It basically tells you everything that's going to happen inside the book, but without context. So longtime Superman fans here will recognize who this figure is. Yes, we are coming to Bizarro. This issue functions sort of like a sequel. Like how this series seems to have run was issues 1 and 2 were very closely related. They almost follow right after each other. And then you have issue 3, which is the Batman issue, and that one seems very separate and standalone. And then we come to the 2 Lex Luthor issues, which is number 4, and this issue here, number 5. So if you recall, at the end of issue 4, Lex told Superman that he was dead, and that Lex himself was going to be responsible for his death, and nobody would be able to prove it, and that he was never going to end up in prison again. So we start on this page with this guy in this robot suit. Now this reminds me, I haven't read very many Superman comics in the 70s. The one that I did read was Spider-Man, and Spider-Man versus Superman. And in that one, Lex Luthor wore a costume like this, the purple boots and gloves and the green suit, the green power suit. I think that was his motif. He wasn't like he is now, like a businessman, but he was sort of a mad scientist who tried to take on Superman because Superman caused an accident that caused Lex Luthor to go bald when they were boys. I'm not quite sure of that, but that's what I remember. So in this case, it turns out that Superman is delivering this poor guy in the suit back to Lex Luthor, and Luthor is basically denying that he has anything to do with it. He's saying the suit was stolen, the employee is an ex-employee and he was fired years ago. Superman counters that computer records can be faked. We'll see what this guy says when he comes out, and the guy goes, oh, well, he could be. I'm afraid he's liable to be Baddeep, because essentially there's like some sort of psionic thing in here that I guess it scrambles your brain if you wear it for more than an hour. And so this poor guy didn't know that, so he's a vegetable too. So hopefully Lex gave him something, his family something. I don't know. Who knows what compelled this guy to do Lex Luthor's bidding. You can tell this takes place a few years later because Luthor is all bald on top. That little fringe there that was, that L. Ron Hubbard type thing is that from the last issue is gone. So I think we're 2 or 3 years advanced here. I tried to review it before I started the video, and I did not find what was going on. So then anyways, we have this guy, Dr. Tang, who is from China, but they're in Hong Kong now. So yeah, Superman flew all the way to Hong Kong to deliver this poor guy to, it's like once Superman found out that this suit is scrambling his brain, why doesn't he take the helmet off at least? I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, apparently there's this machine that can scan Superman, or anybody, I guess, and then they can immediately clone him. And so that's what's happening here. But Dr. Tang is like, I'm afraid he's not actually human, and I don't, my machine was made for humans, and I'm not sure what's going to happen if we let this fella out of the pod. And so Lex Luthor is like, an alien. Oh, and of course this is all in Chinese, probably Mandarin. It just says Chinese. An alien, yes, of course, it all fits. There's no other rational explanation for his powers. But what if Project Changeling, Tang? What effect has this discovery had on our duplication process? And this is where Tang is like, well, that's the problem. It's like, I'm supposed to keep humans. So like, he comes out, he looks perfect at first, but then he collapses. Then, Luthor's kind of pissed about it, even though I don't know what Tang could have done. Tang did a remarkable job considering, it's a considerable job. He could, like, clone, like, some other super person, like Wonder Woman or something. Excuse me. Who is human. Anyways, then we jump to this... We're introduced to a new character. Well, for me, I'm not sure if this is Lucy Lane. She's Lois Lane's sister. And I just want to point something out here. Like, some of this art is very stiff. You see how she's posed here, and her leg looks kind of unnaturally stiff. Well, in a few more pages, so spoiler alert. Whoops. So in a few more pages, Lois is at the Daily Planet and she's standing in the same pose. So I'm not sure what was going on there, but or what Dick Giordano's artistic style is. I just found that a little odd, and I found that in other issues. Excuse me, there's a plane going by now. If I was a better editor, I would cut this out. But I can't figure out the difference between, like, is it clipping? There's like 2 different things you can do to shorten a video. And none of them, like, they don't make sense to me, word-wise. But since I'm not in the video editor right now, I can't remember it. So anyways, what's going on with Lucy is apparently she's blind. She was a stewardess. I think they called them stewardesses still in the 1980s. And somebody threw a chemical in her face, and that blinded her, and the doctors couldn't do anything. And I like this whole sequence, like, just the art, you can tell what's going on. It's like when I first got to this page, before reading all of the word balloons, I knew something very sad was happening. And I do like, I like how they, there's so much white space here, but it does, for me at least, it drives home that impact that this person is, emotionally very sad, feeling very isolated. I really like this. I like this whole sequence of panels leading to this panel. I really like what the artist Dick Giordano did there. So then we go off to another scene, and there's an ambulance stuck in traffic, and it looks like Superman's rescuing them, but those of us who have even the slightest idea of who Bizarro is know that this is probably Bizarro, and that's who it turns out to be. And so, like, he gets these guys to the hospital, and then but he looks like a monster, so it freaks him out. And then Lucy, this was very dark too. Lucy is I guess I have to pay more attention to my monitor, is very depressed, and she's going to commit suicide. Why am I trying to kid myself any longer? I'm a flight attendant. Oh, I guess they weren't using stewardess then. I have never had the slightest interest in doing anything else. Never been trained to do anything else. And there's just no demand for blind flight attendants. So, forgive me, Lois. And yeah, not only is that dark, it's also very selfish, I think. It's like, why would you do this to a person? I don't know. It's like, this whole storyline really affected me. It's like you go to stay with somebody and then you kill yourself while they go off to work. It's not cool. Not cool at all. But then, of course, Bizarro rescues her, and she's blind, and I don't think she's met Superman. And so, like, I don't know, Superman, are you there, Superman? So, like, apparently Bizarro can't talk. It is cool, like, to me, like, that's also another highlight, is how when it's Bizarro Superman, you never see him, and it looks like, you know, he's kind of turning the blue color as we go. Like, here it's just a little subtle, and I'm sure if they had printed this on higher quality paper at the time, they would have made that, or, you know, used a different printing process, which I don't know if they had anything really available in the 80s that was cost effective. So anyways, here comes Lois, and she's wearing one of these jumpsuits from the 80s. Looks almost like Batman as she enters. Yeah, and she just like comes in, greetings, wage slaves, what's new? And Clark is like, ah, it would be news if you came in one morning and didn't say that, Lois. So then they get to talking, and Lois is still sore that, you know, I think this might be where we figure out how long ago it was. I'm not sure exactly, but well, I guess not. Anyways, so yeah, they're talking about something. Don't know. For Undertakers, good morning, Lois. How's Lucy today? Any improvement? No, the doctors say her sight could be restored if they just could find the proper combination of chemicals. And then Jimmy comes in. He has very little to do in this whole series. He just comes in and he's always kind of smiling, always has kind of that same expression on his face. But he goes, hey guys, did you hear the latest weirdie? No, Jim, what is it? Somebody busted the front window of the men's clothing store over in Bleecker, smashed a couple of $1,000s worth of glass to steal a $100 suit. And right next door is a jewelry shop with $50,000 in precious stones. So it's like Bizarro trying to like get his Clark Kent disguise. So and then like Clark Kent says, my super hearing is detecting a commotion in the lobby. And so he goes, oh, I'll catch you later. I want to follow up on that story, Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, story? What story? It's just a weird little robbery. And Lois is like, maybe, Jim boy, but if Clark Kent wants a piece of it, so do I. Oh yeah, it was the last episode, the last issue with the Lex Luthor, where we found out that Lois is still sore. Anyways, you know, I kind of like this scene, like him moving super fast and changing into Superman. And then there's Bizarro dressed partly, oh yeah, right here. And then there's Bizarro partly dressed as Clark Kent and Superman, and you know, he's like, good, yeah, here we go. Everybody but our strangely dressed friend there, and what's he doing with those sunglasses? Hey fella, you'd like to explain? And then, then we get, look at this. This is Saturday morning lineup for 1986, and it looks horrible. You have Kissy Fur, which I never heard of. You have Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears, which I might have heard of. The Smurfs, of course, everybody heard the Smurfs. Punky Brewster was a show turned into a cartoon. Alvin and the Chipmunks. Foofer. Kid Video. And is this like Michael J. Fox? I guess he did One to Grow On back then. And to me, this looks like a very boring lineup. Like, I always liked more the adventure ones. There's not, I don't know what Kid Video was, but nothing here looks very interesting at all. I wonder what their, you know, the Smurfs were, you know, they were like out of this world popular, so they were probably a high rated show, but you know, everything else, Hong Kong Phooey was better. Anyways, moving on. So, great Scott! Yeah, this is here we get the reveal. He's dressed like Superman and Clark Kent. I think you'd better come with me, whoever you are, before any other planet staffers see you. And then, like, Bizarro just lays waste to Superman. And I'm not sure why he did it. Maybe he was just startled. Maybe he's got the killing the twin thing. I am not sure. So, Superman and Bizarro fight a little bit. We find out that Bizarro has the heat vision just like Superman. Now the one thing I'm unclear on is, like I remember from the first issue, is Bizarro, yeah, let me bring that down, is Bizarro has this suit that's like Superman's suit, but Superman's suit was one of a kind. Wasn't it made from the materials that came with him in his space pod? So yeah, just want to, I'm probably doing a bad job with this video. Sorry. So yeah, and then Superman like burns his clothes off, so then at least we just have two Supermans instead. And you know, they fight for a little bit, and then Lois shows up, and like here, when I saw this, knowing how strong Superman is, I thought he was breaking her wrist. But then he flies off with her. I'm not quite sure why. And anyways, yeah, I guess that was like another thing, is like the clones have all the memories of the people that they're cloned from. So he has Superman's memories, and that's why, you know, I guess he's, I'm not sure if he's like trying to take Lois to Lucy, because, but you know, here we go, we got the kiss. I don't know if Superman's even kissed Lois yet, but Bizarro gets a kiss in. And then yeah, and I think like he was bringing her back to Lucy because, you know, Lucy was suicidal, and you know, he just maybe felt somebody should be there with her. And so maybe he was going to try to disguise himself as Clark Kent, so he could, like, you know, not make the big scene that he ended up making. And then oh, I didn't notice that when I read it. There's like, it's almost like the ink got splattered some way. So like Superman shows up, and it's like, oh, there's two of you, is like Lucy saying. And then does Superman just kind of punch Bizarro into Lois's apartment? And Lois has a pretty nice apartment. She must make some pretty good money. Anyways, you know, I don't know that I would have done that if I was Superman, but, and you know, this is a nice scene too, a nice fight scene. It's what is it? It's 4 panels, no words, but I just, you know, it's very beautifully done. And then Superman, like, I don't know, does he punch him? And Bizarro just breaks up. Let me go back here a second. Oh, I see. He just throws, no, Bizarro throws Superman to the ground. And then I was confused about this. It's like, oh, this is right. It's like his skin is flaking off, and he's not organic. He's some kind of android, an artificial being, just one step ahead of a robot. And then Superman flies into him as fast as possible, and shoom, and then like Bizarro dust lands everywhere, and Lucy can see. And it's like, did you know, Lois is like, did you know this would happen, Superman? And he goes, no, but somehow I think he did. So yeah, that was, it was a pretty good story, but it was also a little weird the way it ended. It's like Bizarro blowing up, and then Bizarro almost sacrificing himself, because, I mean, is that what we're supposed to take from this story? Bizarro knew that if Bizarro dust got on Lucy, her sight would be restored. I don't know. It was a pretty good story for the most part, aside from that confusing bit. So yeah, since I've got one more video to do and the sun is setting, I am going to go ahead and ask you to like the video, give the video a like, share it, and tell me what you thought of this issue. Did you read it back in the day? And if you did, you know, I mean, it's just a pretty good Superman issue, you know? So like, here's the credits: John Byrne, Dick Giordano, inking was John Costanza, lettering Tommy Zico, coloring Andrew Helfer, editing with special acknowledgement to the work of Otto Binder. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out now. Thank you for watching, and thank you for liking. Thank you for not liking. I mean, this one is like, I might not do the other one tonight because of how my shaky video is. So talk to you later. Super Comic Fun Time out.